Hello and welcome back to another live stream with the IELTS Grind. My name's Phil and I think I've got a pretty good lesson for you guys today. What we're going to do is some speaking practice, but before we do that, we're also going to do a little practice with vocabulary and a few strategies. So before we get started, let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if the volume's okay, and when we're sure that there are no technical issues, we will get cracking. So I'm trying out a new camera today. Whether or not it works all the way through the live stream is another question, but we'll give it a go. So hello to everyone who is in the live chat. So later on in the lesson we will be doing some live Zoom calls, so be prepared for that. But for the first part we're going to talk about a few important things. So let's get started. So in today's lesson we're going to look at 3 different sections of the lesson. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of think about vocabulary. So we're going to think about our topic today, which is talking about famous people. Now this is a topic that could come up, particularly for part 2 in the speaking, in many different formats. There are many different types of famous people. So what we're going to look at are a few general ideas and terms that we might use in order to talk about famous people. And I will welcome you guys also to put your comments into the live chat and anything you think might be appropriate for this. So that will be section 1 of today's live stream. Section 2, we're going to think about speaking part 2, and I'm just going to think about some ways that you can improve how you approach this task. And I'm going to give you a live demonstration. I'm actually going to do a speaking part 2 myself, and I'll talk you through how I would approach it, and then you can tell me if you think my answer is actually any good. And then the third section is for you guys. We're going to start up a Zoom and we'll have a live speaking part 2 practice. I prepared about 8 different practices. So at least 8 people can join. If we have more interest later in the live stream, then we can do as many practices as you'd like. So that is today's lesson. So make sure you jump on the live chat and make sure you're watching these videos live, so you can click on the screen which shows you a live. And at any point you think this is interesting, it's helpful, don't hesitate to give us a like. So before we get started, let me just double check. How is the volume, guys? Can everybody hear me okay? So I can see we've got Chai in the chat. Zawel's there, good, excellent. So you guys are ready? Let's jump into it. Okay, so section 1, let's talk a bit about vocabulary. So when you're brainstorming for these types of topics, what would be helpful is to think about general ideas. If we're talking about a famous person, what are some general things that would come up for any type of question, whether it's describe a famous actor, describe a famous politician, describe a famous inventor. What kind of terms would fit all of these possibilities? So that's what I've done here. I've come up with a few ideas. So obviously the most important word when it comes to famous is something to do with fame. So we've got some synonyms for fame. I don't know if Michael was watching, but we had some fun with the pronunciation of synonyms yesterday when we were hanging out. So some synonyms for fame, words that mean basically the same thing. So here is a list of some things we could use. So for fame, famous, we could use expressions like to be known for, to be renowned for, to be celebrated for something, notable, prominent or prominent in something, esteemed, eminent, famed for. So these are a few kind of synonyms for that. But when you're looking for synonyms, the important thing is not just to take the word. They may mean generally the same thing, but these words they're not necessarily used in exactly the same way. So what I've done is to give you some example sentences, and this will show how we use these sentences. Okay, these are synonyms rather. So I would say he is most known for his role in the James Bond film franchise. So I would say he was most known for his role in the James Bond film franchise. So what I've got here, we've got the synonym is known for, and I've added this word, most known for. So this is really kind of a collocation. This word naturally goes with this phrase, most known for, least known for, if it's not a very popular film. Okay, so it's a good expression. And a film franchise, if you know James Bond, 007, License to Kill, there have been many different films within this group of films, many different actors who have played the character of James Bond, and this is called a film franchise. So if you can think of any other film franchises, feel free to write it in the chat and I'll let you know if I agree. So I can see the chat, so don't be afraid of doing that. Okay, so another example. Mahatma Gandhi was particularly renowned for his non-violent protest against British tyranny. Okay, so was renowned for, famous for, particularly renowned for. So there are many things that Gandhi was famous for, but this is one of the most famous things. And non-violent protest, good expression. British tyranny, because it's not a very nice bit of history, but we were tyrants in India, unfortunately, in the past. Luckily, that's changed and India is rightfully independent now. Okay, so that is another example. And here's another sentence we might use. I suppose I'd say she's a celebrated author, most celebrated for her best-selling Harry Potter series. Now, if you know who I'm talking about, feel free to leave a comment. But what I've done here is I've used celebrated in different ways. She's a celebrated author, a celebrated inventor, celebrated singer, actor, but this is really a good collocation. And then I've used celebrated for something. Now, I don't think, yep, Maria's got it, J.K. Rowling is the author of the Harry Potter series. So I wouldn't necessarily use celebrated and celebrated for in the same sentence. It's just really to show you how they're used slightly differently. You could do this, nothing wrong with doing this, but ideally I'd use a different word, but it's just to show you the differences. So nice collocation here, celebrated author, celebrated for her best-selling Harry Potter series. Okay, so a couple more sentences. One notable American writer is Mark Twain. He's esteemed because he's the archetypical American author famed for many celebrated novels. So notable American writer, esteemed, famed for celebrated novels. So we've got celebrated again there. But you can just see how I'm using the words in slightly different ways here. This is what we're looking at. I'm going to tell you about an eminent politician from my country who's quite famous for his haircut. So again, if you know who I'm talking about, this is a UK politician famous for his haircut. Feel free to put it into the comments. Okay, so some more vocabulary. So talking about actors. Imagine we have to talk about famous actors. What are some words that we could use? So I decided to focus on the idea of actors and their roles, talking about the type of roles that actors have had. So we've got lots of different words here. To appear in, to star in, to make one's debut in, debut. We don't say the T here because it's really from a French word, debut, and often the French words they don't pronounce the last letter, so debut rather than debut, debut. To win an award, a leading role, to be cast in, a breakthrough role, to catch one's big break. So some of these are explained as we go along, but they all are connected to talking about an actor's role. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about Tom Hardy, who has appeared in many British and American films. So to appear in, they're an actor in that film. I suppose he's most famous for starring in gangster movies, which I absolutely adore. So absolutely adore, this is a nice collocation. These words naturally go together. And it's also nice because it's alliteration. Alliteration means where you have the first letter of words and it's the same. And this is something that native speakers and high-level speakers, this is something they do. They play with the language. So if you watch any of our writing videos, you'll often see that Michael and I, we choose particular expressions and language because it's a little bit poetic. It sounds nice to the ear. And this is sort of another level of using English. So this is a nice expression here. Absolutely adore something. I've known about him for years, but I think he made his acting debut in a film called Black Hawk Down. So to make his acting debut, this is a really good collocation. These words naturally go together. That's what I mean by collocation. Acting debut. He made his singing debut. We could say that for a singer. Yeah. So yeah. Although he has been nominated for plenty of awards, he hasn't won all of them yet. So here again, we've got the expression, so to be awarded, to win an award rather, but you'll see how I've changed it around. Awards he hasn't won. So the expression is slightly different, but we have the same elements. And a natural word that goes with this is to be nominated. So to be nominated is when the Academy Awards, the Oscars for example, they vote and say this person deserves an award, but there are other people who deserve the same award, and then they see who actually wins it. That's it. And the other thing to note here is using a contrasting structure. Although this sentence, this part of the sentence, he has been nominated for plenty of awards, the next part of the sentence is contrasting that. He was nominated, but he didn't win. So make sure when you're using although, you're saying two things that are contradicting each other or contrasting each other. Yeah. So a few more example sentences. I don't think he's played many leading roles, but he was cast as the lead in a film called Legend, where he played two famous twin gangsters from London. So here we have leading role. This means that he is the main actor in the film. There are other actors in there, but he plays the lead character or the most important character. And we have the expression to be cast in a film, cast as the lead in the film. So this is a nice sentence here, nice phrase. And this film, Legend, I quite like it actually. It's about two famous gangsters called the Kray twins in the 1960s. And to be honest, they were very violent. But it's a good film, and Tom Hardy plays both of the twins because they look alike. And he does a very good job. So if you like a bit of violence, a scary film, Legend is a pretty good one. Okay, so the other thing I was thinking about for vocabulary, something that comes up a lot with famous people, is where you heard about them or how you know them. Okay, so some expressions here. So to be made aware of someone or something, to discover someone, to be introduced to someone, or someone is introduced to you, or to be introduced to me. Yeah. So the reason we've got the brackets here is this expression, we can use it in slightly different ways, and that's important to know how there are variations in these expressions. To be conscious of someone, to come across someone. So there's different expressions here meaning how you really got to know this famous person, because you're always going to have to talk about that, and you might talk about it in different ways, and you've got some synonyms here to do that. So again, I'll give you a few example sentences. I was first made aware of this artist at school, and I've been a fan ever since. So I was made aware of, and a good collocation is first made aware of. Talking about the very first time you saw the picture or the sculpture or whatever it is. And a fan ever since. This is another nice expression. My sister discovered her album, and then she introduced me to her songs. So to discover something, an album, an artist, a piece of art, and then she introduced me to her songs. So in this case, she introduced me to, yeah, or someone introduced the artist to me. We could say that as well. Yeah, someone introduced her songs to me. That's another variation of that expression. I suppose I became conscious of this artist because of her favourite singer. I suppose I became conscious of this artist because my favourite singer wrote a song about her. To become conscious of something means to know about something. I've only come across the works of Dali recently, and I just find his style so intriguing. So to come across something and the works of an artist, the songs of an artist, the filmology, discology, the backlog of an artist perhaps. Yeah, Ronaldo, yeah, well-known footballer. I remember Ronaldo played for Brazil. Definitely, yeah. So that's another question we could have. Describe a famous sports personality. So that Ronaldo would be a great one for that, yeah. Okay, so the other thing I was thinking about was talking about the influence of this famous person on you and the world, yeah. So some other words we could use. So for influence we have to inspire or inspire me, to be touched by something, to awaken something inside you, to be a catalyst, so catalyst, to be a symbol of something, to be a voice of a generation, and to be a champion of something. So here are some example sentences showing you how we use these expressions. Learning about him has actually inspired me to learn to fly myself. So this is me thinking about a famous pilot that I know. I was deeply touched by the beauty of the sculpture, and it has awakened a desire inside me to do the same. So I was touched by the beauty. I was deeply touched. This is a good collocation. This word naturally goes with this phrase. It has awakened something inside me, awakened a desire. Yeah. Without a doubt, Copernicus's work was a catalyst for change, and he's a symbol of scientific discovery worldwide. A catalyst for change. This is a good expression. A catalyst for change, meaning this scientist, Copernicus, who I believe was the one that first discovered that the planet Earth was in the center of the solar system. That's wrong. The sun was in the center of the solar system rather than what was believed, which was the Earth was in the center of the solar system. And this was in the 1500s or something like that. Unfortunately, he was persecuted by the Catholic Church. I think he was actually burnt at the stake. They set him on fire for this they discovered. But he is a symbol of scientific discovery. So if you ask a scientist about Copernicus, they will know about him. It could be said that Bob Dylan was the voice of his generation. Later on, he also became a champion of social change. So a voice of his generation means there was a zeitgeist. A zeitgeist. This is an expression that means spirit of the age. It's actually a borrowed word from German. But in the 1960s, when Bob Dylan was making his music, there was this need for change. The young people wanted to revolutionize their society, and it was through the music of Bob Dylan that those messages were spread, the voice of his generation. Okay, so those were just some kind of brainstorming ideas I had. And the idea is, if you take a topic like famous people and you think, what kind of things will I generally need to talk about? What things will I need to describe? And this is a good way to boost your vocabulary score, because you can use those expressions, those words, in many different ways. So some vocabulary tips. So what we say here, Michael and I, at the IELTS Grind, is you should be reading in English for at least 20 minutes every single day. And by that we mean not reading IELTS material. You should be reading for fun. So whatever you're interested in, if you have a hobby, more than likely you can read about it in English. And just reading will help you with your grammar, your vocabulary, and just generally getting used to speaking English as well. It's just immersive. So do that whenever you can. If you're sitting on a bus, you're waiting for an appointment, before you go to bed, if you have 20 minutes just reading anything you like in English, it should be good. If you want to improve your fluency, how quickly you read, practice reading something a little bit easier than your level. If you're always reading really difficult, like native level English, it's not going to help you all of the time. Of course, you've got to do some practice for that, for the exam, but just building vocabulary, fluency, all that kind of thing, it doesn't have to be IELTS material, but read for about 20 minutes a day. The other thing is obviously keep a note of what you are learning, the words that you're learning, and this should be something you're adapting, adding to all over the place. So if you keep it nice and organized, that's really going to help you. you can list, you can arrange your vocabulary by topic, you can do it by adjectives, verbs, however you want, but always be adding to it. And the other thing is never learn lists of words. Most of us growing up, the way that we were taught another language was just lists of vocabulary. It's not a good way to do it because it goes in one ear and out the other ear. You're not going to learn it that way. But when you do discover new words, what you need to do is in your notebook is write down a definition of that word in English. If you write it in your own language, it's the same thing as a list of words because you're not going to make the connection most of the time between the new word and what it means. Now, if you're reading and for some reason you can't find a dictionary, you don't actually know 100% what the word means, just write down what you think it means based on the context of the rest of the text. And then later on you can compare it to what it actually does mean and see how close you are. Because even I, as a native speaker, there are loads of words that I don't know. We have like something like 100,000 words in the English language, and most native speakers use about 3,000 words in their active vocabulary. So there are plenty of words that I don't know. Okay, so when I'm reading, I still need to guess the context of a word and the meaning of the word through the context. So, you know, if you feel like you're doing that too, it's the same for me. Okay, so write down your definitions in English. There should be no other language in your notebook than English. The other thing is to write down collocations, those words that naturally go together. You'll learn collocations through reading. You'll just start to pick up on this idea that, okay, this word seems to go with this word quite a lot. For example, absolutely adore. That's a collocation. We wouldn't say, I'm trying to think of a bad collocation, I very adore. Okay, very adore is a bad collocation. Those words don't naturally go together. So record words and phrases that you see as a whole, not just individual words. The other thing, and this is what I just did, guys, was to write example sentences. Try and use the word. The more you do that, the better you're going to remember it, and the better you will be at using the word. Like I said before, just because it's a collocation, just because it's a synonym of a word you know, doesn't mean it's used in exactly the same way. So writing example sentences, researching example sentences is really going to help you. And another great way is when you're organizing your notes to link similar words and phrases and ideas all together. That way you're going to make those links in your head and you're going to be better able to use it in your speaking and your writing. Okay, so before we jump into section 2, let's see, I've seen a few messages jumping up here. So we had Maria say, his heyday began since he started to set up his own company. You might say, yeah, his heyday. Well, the thing is, with heyday, it kind of means the best time of something. So you might say he's in his heyday, but we don't normally use it in that way. It's normally used for the past. So the heyday of British cinema was in the 1960s. It's not so good now. So you might say his heyday began when he started to set up his own company. Now we're talking about an event in the past, and we're saying it's probably not his heyday right now. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just the context of that word is kind of, it's over. So we've got DL Lin said his talent and his amazing achievements influenced on my mind so much I feel more motivated and follow his good habits. You might say his amazing achievements, good alliteration, have had an influence. Have had such an influence on my mind. Yeah, that would be better. His talent and amazing achievements have had such an influence on my mind. I feel more motivated and follow his good habits. I would use that. Have had. So past perfect. Good. Good. Okay, great. Yeah, so Maria, heyday, I would say we really use it for it's a past period of time, because it's nostalgic. Nostalgia is when we look back on the past fondly, thinking it was a better time. So I would say, yeah, it's what we would generally use for a past occasion. Okay, so in section 2 of today's lesson, what we're going to be doing is thinking about some strategies. How can we come up with a better part 2? Okay, so let me just fiddle around with something. Okay, so first of all, let's think about exactly what we need to do in part 2, because if you know what you're expected to do, you can plan for that better. Okay, so in speaking part 2, you have to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, but they give you 1 minute to prepare, and they will always give you the prompt, the thing you need to talk about, with a few ideas of what to say. And you will also be given a pen, pencil and a bit of paper to make notes on, and you're allowed to keep that throughout the part 2. You have to give it back before you start part 3, but you have 1 minute to prepare, which is not a lot of time there. So you've already got to kind of know what you're going to do beforehand. We'll talk about that in a moment. The other thing to remember is you just got to stay on topic. When we look at our example later on, you'll see that it says something like describe a famous person you know, and it gives you 4 ideas to talk about. Those 4 ideas are just suggestions. If you don't talk about those, that's perfectly fine. It makes no difference at all. But you should try to stay on topic. So talk about a famous person rather than a famous event or famous country. Okay, that's something to remember. And you can say anything you want. The IELTS test is an English test. It's not a test of truth or a test of your intelligence. So whatever you say doesn't have to be true. So that means if you can think of an interesting story that happened to a friend of yours and you know the details, feel free to talk about that as if it happened to you. If you want to tell downright lies in the exam, the examiner will not care at all. They're just there to test how well you link your ideas together and how well you use the language. So that's good. So when you're making notes, think about the vocab you want to use, the vocabulary. Think about grammar opportunities and think about the content. I'm going to show you how I do this with a few ideas, just so you don't forget, because we've had examples of students who are really very high level students, but because they stick to the same tenses, they don't use a variety of grammar or a variety of vocabulary, they actually get a lower score than they probably should do. So this is something you need to remember in your prep. And the other thing is the examiner will interrupt you. It's going to happen. It's not an issue. If the examiner interrupts you at any time during the exam, it's not a problem. They have to keep to a schedule. Each section, each part of the exam is meant to be a certain amount of time. So they will, that's their job, okay? So if they interrupt you, it doesn't matter. you speak for 1 to 2 minutes. If they think after 1 minute, yep, I know all I need to know, they'll stop you after 1 minute. They might let you speak for 2 minutes. It doesn't really matter. And they might interrupt you and ask you a question. The question they ask you after part 2 is only to tell you, okay, this is the end of part 2, we're going to part 3, and they just want to move you along. So the question they ask you after part 2, you can say yes or no. It's the only question in the exam where you should just give a very short answer. They do not want you to give a long answer for the question after part 2 before part 3. Okay, so what are we aiming to do in part 2? Well, it's this. You want to talk about a topic in an appropriate way, which means basically staying on topic. You want to make sure what you're saying is relevant to what you've been asked to talk about. This is particularly important if you want to get higher than 6.5. You need to link your ideas together in a logical way, and also so it's comprehensible, meaning they can understand what you're saying and also understand why you're saying it. You need to use vocabulary in the right way, so this is important. Sometimes a basic word is better than a fancy word because it's the right word for the situation. Okay, so don't feel like you have to keep using very fancy and posh language. Sometimes the basic word is just good. And don't forget, use a variety of grammar tenses and try to use them in the right way with flexibility. And the other thing to remember is your pronunciation. It's not just about vocabulary, it's not just about grammar. Excuse me. Okay, so what we're going to do now is have a look at an example, and I'm going to talk you through a few ideas that you might find useful for part 2. Okay. Okay. So Maria says, when I'm speaking, even with familiar persons such as you, I always feel very anxious, stressed, and stutter and fidget. Yeah, obviously, I'm not going to lie to you. It's an important exam. It means a lot to many people. But just remember, the examiner is just doing a job. I mean, when you, I don't know, go to a shop or order a coffee, you don't feel nervous to talk to that person. I know it's in your own language, but they're just doing a job, and it really doesn't matter. So just think of the examiner as if they're your servant. They're there working for you. You're the boss, okay? You're the customer. So yeah, it's just something to get over. And that's why practice with us when we do our live speaking. And yeah, you'll soon get over that, hopefully. Right, so yeah, and of course, if you guys want to practice, don't forget that we do have our Discord, and you can come in there. It's kind of a place to join. And of course, I understand that a lot of you girls, you prefer to be with other girls and talk. I understand that, and we do have a female only voice group here. You can join that, and if any boys turn up, you let us know and we'll kick them out. But yeah, if you guys need to practice with each other, feel free to do that. Okay, so the example. So this is one of the examples for later on. So one of you could get this. But it says, describe a famous inventor you know. Okay. So we need to talk about someone who invents products. You should say what they invented, where they are from, how they influence the world, and what you think about them. Okay, so all of these things here, if I don't talk about them, it's okay. It's not like I'm going to lose points. But also, if I only talk about these things, I probably wouldn't have enough content for 2 minutes. Okay, so it's something to be aware of. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is take you through my process of what I would do. So describe a famous inventor you know. So I'm going to split it up into different sections. So in my 1 minute, I'm going to think about it in these terms. I'm going to think of some sort of introduction. I'm going to think about background information. I'm going to think about inventions. I'm going to think about legacy. And the reason why I'm planning this is to give me a range of vocabulary opportunities and a range of grammar opportunities. So we're going to go through this bit by bit. So if I talk about the introduction first of all. So I'm going to think about an overview. I'm going to think about impact today. I'm going to think about future generations. So why might I talk about these ideas? An overview, the impact of the inventor today, and future generations. What do you think? What's the reason behind this? If you want to let me know in the chat. And just remember, guys, in the chat, this goes live on YouTube, so don't give away any personal details that you wouldn't want to be shared on the internet. So yeah, don't forget, it is live to the world. Okay, so why have I put down these notes? So these are just words or short phrases to jog my memory, to help me think about what to say. What would be the reason behind this? So when I'm in overview, what I'm going to do is just start off by generally introducing who the person is, why they're famous. So in terms of grammar, these are facts. So they will either be facts in the past or facts now. So I'm using simple tenses here. Present simple, possibly past simple. Impact today, I've noted this down as part of my introduction because I want to remember, try and use a perfect tense. So if I'm talking about actions in the past with an impact now, this is going to be an opportunity for present perfect. So the note there just reminds me, okay, try and form some sort of present perfect sentence. Future generations, what might people in the future think about this inventor? This is an opportunity to use a prediction, which is future tense. So I'm making these notes here just to think, okay, can I start my speech, my 2-minute speech, with a general sentence, a few sentences, using a variety of vocabulary, but also grammar. Okay, so this is something you could think about, something you can prepare in advance almost. So we're also going to look at background, inventions, and legacy, and I'm going to show you what I would do. So if we look at background, so here I'm obviously going to be referring to the past, whether or not this is a famous inventor from the present or the past. I'm actually thinking of Thomas Edison. So Thomas Edison, a famous American inventor. So I've put all the questions down for this guy. So the first thing I'm going to think about is what was his early life like? So this is a question I want to answer. So one good method to use is what we call the question method, where literally you're writing down many different questions in your 1 minute preparation time, and you're just going through and answering each question one after the other. So if I was to write what was his early life like, it's going to take me a long time. So all I'm going to write down is early life. So it goes from what was his early life like to the note early life. So you've got to develop some sort of short form, a shorthand, or a code of some sort that you understand, where you can make very, very short notes, one word or small phrases. I'm also going to think what would have been different if he wasn't an inventor. So why am I going to ask myself this question? It's because I'm going to try and force myself to use a very complex grammar structure, the third conditional, because that's used to speculate. So hopefully I remember when I read speculate, it means speculate about how his life would be different if he wasn't famous or he didn't become an inventor. So I'm setting myself up for a grammar opportunity. What type of person was he? So this becomes person. How he's remembered now. Reputation. So I'm developing a code for myself, because all of this is happening very quickly, just writing down lots of ideas. How do you think about all these ideas in advance? Well, you've just got to practice doing this. It becomes a process. If you do lots and lots of examples of part 2, you'll soon see many of these questions you can kind of use for different situations. If we talk about inventions, I might ask myself the question, what was his most famous invention? Now I know what the most famous invention is, so I'm just going to put light bulb and quote, because I know he said something famous about light bulbs. So do you see how these big questions are becoming short notes? Who invented them? Him invent? Because here I know there's some dispute over who invented certain things. So I want to talk about that. So who invented them becomes him invent. It's not a good English sentence, but for me to remember, it's good enough. So you don't need to write down perfect grammatical sentences in your notes for part 2. Get the ideas down as quickly as you can. It's going to help you out. What made his inventions so important becomes import, asterisk. So again, I'm not even writing important. I'm just writing the first part of the word, just to help me remember, talk about this. How I use his inventions becomes invent me, use. So you can see it's not very good English, but it is a good note. It's very quick to write down. So invention becomes invent. Okay, what was he infamous for? Infamous. This means to be famous for a bad thing. Just becomes infamous. Yeah? Okay. So if we turn to my next section that I've planned out, legacy. So here I'm talking about future, present, future. And the questions I've got, will light bulbs be used in the future? Becomes. Will L bulbs, so it's future. Again, you see I'm saving time by abbreviating, making everything as short as possible. What will future generations say about him? Becomes future gen. And we'll see later on that in my introduction, I also talk about future generations. So here, it's giving me an opportunity to paraphrase, to say the same thing using different words, which is something that is important because it shows my level of English. What impact have his inventions had becomes impact more. So here, impact more, this is to remind me about, okay, what's the impact so far? Will there continue to be an impact in the future? So this is the way my brain works. If you think about it in a different way, use your own system. It doesn't matter. No one else sees this. So as long as it makes sense to you, then it's going to help. And I think we got one more. How would like have been different without his inventions? I think like should say life. That's a typo on my part there. But spec inventions. Here, spec for me means specific inventions, and here, not specific. It means speculate. I forgot, because if we go back, how would life have been different without his inventions? It's speculation again. I'm gonna try and give myself another opportunity to use high-level grammar. Okay, so this is all of the information I have. Okay, and it's just to help jog my memory so that I can speak about this for as long as possible. Okay, so I'm gonna wet my whistle. To wet your whistle, have a drink. It normally means to have an alcoholic drink, but I've just got green tea, unfortunately. But so this is my challenge. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to have a go at doing this part 2. I'm going to try and speak for a full 2 minutes, and then after this it's your turn. After this we're going to start up the Zoom call, and we're going to get as many people as would like to join me to practice part 2, especially talking about famous people. Okay, so this entire lesson, it's building to the practice where you guys do live speaking. Okay, but before, I thought perhaps you'd like to see my attempt. Okay, so as you're listening, think about how many of these questions do I actually answer? How many of these things do I actually get to? Because ideally I need more information, more notes than is actually necessary. That way the examiner will always interrupt me. I won't come to a stop before I already meant to come to a stop. Okay, so let's have a go. I'll give myself 2 minutes and we'll go. Okay, so you've asked me to talk about a famous inventor. So if I had to choose just one, it would probably be Thomas Edison. So this is a person who was born, I think, in the 19th century. At least before 1900. And he was quite prolific as an inventor. He certainly invented many things, or was credited with that. And many of those inventions he made have really impacted the way that our lives are led today. For example, he worked a lot with electricity. I also believe he worked with the automobile, with cars. So definitely impacted today's life. And I think that in the future, people will always remember Thomas Edison. So if I think about his early life, I would say that probably he came from quite a privileged background, because I imagine he must have had some sort of education or decent level of education in order to come up with these inventions. But I don't know if he was rich or not. And I imagine that if he had just been an ordinary person, we would never have had all of the wonderful inventions that we have today. I can't be sure if anyone else would have invented the things that he did. I do know that he, as a person, he wasn't very popular. For example, he didn't really invent all the things that he claimed to invent. But one thing that he definitely did invent was the light bulb, which he made many mistakes on, and he didn't do it the first time. Oh, I'm out of time. Okay, so I am quite a waffler. I like to talk and talk and talk. But you can see that in my example, I definitely got to my introduction, and I tried to use a range of vocabulary, range of grammar there. And I only really got to a couple questions that I wrote for myself in the background. So you can see that all of this stuff I never got to, which is fine, because I think, you may want to disagree with me, but I think that within that, I did show that I had a range of vocabulary. I was using words in the right way. I also tried to put in a few really complex grammar structures and tenses. I remember I used a third conditional, so we would have never have had the life we had now if he hadn't invented what he invented, something along those lines. And I was trying to use vocabulary that was really relevant to what I was saying. But you can see that by preparing more than you need, you're never going to feel like, oh, what do I say next? Okay, so that was just an example of what I would say for this topic. Okay, so that brings us on to section 3. So in section 3, I'm going to start a Zoom call and invite anyone that wants to practice a part 2 about famous people to jump on that call. So these will run probably about, let's say, 4 to 6 minutes each. We'll give you 1 minute to prepare what you'd like to say. We'll give you 2 minutes, full 2 minutes to talk, and I will try and give everyone a little bit of feedback as we go along. So if you would like to do that, all you've got to do is come to as we go along. Video today, if you would like to, and you'll find the Zoom call information in the description, or if you click on my message that's pinned to the top, and you'll find you've got it there, so you can come and join that. Or and of course, if you guys are watching and you've found this useful, feel free to give us a like, come and join that. And if you appreciate what Michael and I are doing, there's a few things you can do to help us. Feel free to just spread the message. If you've got any friends that are studying the IELTS, feel free to send them to our channel so they can join us. And you can also support us by actually sending us a tip. If you want to buy us a cup of coffee, they can join us. Feel free. But what we're going to do now is to start the Zoom call, and then we're going to see who wants to join. Feel free. But what we're going to do now is for this, I'm going to have to put on my snazzy and then headphones. We're going to see who wants to join. Feel free. But what we're going to do now, so for this, I'm going to have to put on my snazzy and then headphones. Okay, so I'll turn off my sound there. Hopefully it hasn't been going for all this time. Right, so Zawa says he watched a YouTube video the other day. The candidate didn't cover all the bullet points. The examiner lowered his score. She said that it was mandatory to cover all bullet points. It's not true. They're just there as a suggestion, because there is nowhere in the marking criteria that says, did the candidate answer all the questions? It's just not really there, unless you're looking at band 9, that sort of level where It's really, you've got to stay right on the topic. The issue is, if you watched it on YouTube, it's not a real exam, and likely the person giving the thing is not an examiner, because they couldn't be doing it live. So that tells you something. So yeah, it's not exactly there. You've got to stay on topic. Covering those points, they're just suggestions, and you can certainly cover them. I'm not saying you don't talk about them, but what I'm saying is you don't only have to talk about them. And if you don't get to one of them, it really shouldn't matter if you've given a full logical answer. That's the ideas are linked together. Okay, so let's see. We've got someone going to join me. So as we wait to see who's going to join me, let's see if we've got the first one. Okay. So like I said, I've got 8 of these ready to go. So we can talk to at least 8 people today. And we can always go over the same one more than once if necessary. Right.
Hi.
Okay, good. So we've got Maria, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, great to see you.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, it looks like we can hear you fine. So let's do this in the official way. So I would like you to describe a famous actor from your country. You're going to have to talk about this for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you start speaking, you'll have 1 minute in order to make some notes. And let's kick off with that. Are you able to see the YouTube screen, or do you want me to read out the information to you?
Yes, I am.
You can see it? Okay, excellent. Right, so I'll give you 1 minute to think about what you want to say. But as you're doing that, I'm going to be talking, so try not to get distracted. So you've got 1 minute to think about what you'd like to say, starting now. Okay, so for everyone else watching, think about what you would say here. So you've got to think about a famous actor. So it's always a good idea to think about, to prepare this beforehand. Have someone in the back of your mind for all these things. Before you go through your exam, you can think about a famous singer, politician, and then you can kind of start to prepare that. What are they famous for? What are some key words you need for the type of film that they're in? So a lot of this is prepared beforehand, because it's impossible for most people to come up with this information from the top of their head. Okay, so hopefully I wasn't distracting Maria too much there. So if you're ready, remember, I would like you to describe a famous actor from your country, and I'd like you to start speaking now, please.
Well, I'd like to start by introducing a really eminent actor in my country, whose name is Laura, and he is well known nowadays for his brilliant voice and talent to sing the solo. And as far as I know, he is the founder of the LG Entertainment, which is one of the most successful music company in my country. And I would say that he is extremely famous and really well known in my country. Well, every single day when I was sweeping through the articles about music, which is my favorite topic, I often saw he is was real was given a lot of compliments for his talent. And also my dad is a big fan of him, so he often tell tells me a lot of stories about him to motivate me and inspire me to stand up after failure. And and needless to say, he is one of the most determined actor that I have ever seen, because, well, uh, it is a fact that he dropped out of the his school since uh he was 18, to pursue his dream of becoming the most famous actor in the country.
Okay,
And
thank
he
you.
was success. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Great. Okay. Oh, so possible I've lost my
Oh.
camera, but never mind. Okay, so I think my battery on my camera is died, but never mind. I'll try and fix it as I go along.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, let me talk about. So I can do this one-handed. So yeah, I think that was really good. Excellent. I loved the way you were using some of the vocabulary that we looked at earlier. So I heard you used eminent in exactly the right way. You used well known a few times. That was nice. Some good expressions. One of the most determined actors. That was really good. So you spoke about him having a brilliant voice, which is great.
Yeah.
In the UK, it would be very good. That's the way we use it, as brilliant. But you can also use brilliant as in bright. I was thinking, I don't know if this is true, but a word you could use here is angelic. But angelic, like an angel, angelic. But that would only be for someone who sang certain types of music. If this was an actor.
Oh dear. Well, I would have to talk about actor, but sometimes it was off topic, and I talk about singer. Oh my God.
That's okay. It's fine. I'm really looking at the content of what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, for that, it was an actor, but that's okay. I'll see if I can get my camera to work. There we go.
The camera? Oh,
Sorry,
nice pictures.
I'm trying to do two things at once here. Okay, I'm using a new camera and it ran out of battery, but never mind. Okay, yeah. So if it was a voice, you could argue many actors can sing as well, a technicality. But that's what I was thinking. You also said he's the father of a particular company, I think you said. I wasn't sure if you said father or you said founder. I heard father.
I said founder. Founder.
Founder, as he started it. Okay, so I think I heard father, like mother, father. If you were trying to say founder, it's a little bit different. But father of something, a father of a nation, father of blues music, we can use that expression too. You mentioned you were sweeping through a magazine. You would be flipping through or flicking through. Sweeping through is really like a wind comes quickly through the land. It sweeps through. So flicking or flipping through a magazine. The expression you said,
Yeah.
your father is a big fan of him. Technically, we should say he's a big fan of his, because your father belongs to this person as a fan. It's his fan. So a big fan of his is the expression. And just when we were talking, yeah, it's fun. It's not a massive issue, but it's just so you know. And just the last thing I would say, you mentioned he dropped out of education. So I would say, rather than he dropped out since he was 18, because it's an event, it happens once, you would say he dropped out when he was 18. And now he never went back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Excellent. But yeah, good performance. But yeah, probably you're right. We should focus on being an actor. But the content, what you were saying was good. The ideas linked well together. If you just spoke about a different person, it would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So very good effort as always. And have no doubt, Maria, you are improving leaps and bounds every single time we talk to you.
Yeah, thanks.
So yeah,
Well,
keep doing what you're doing.
yeah, well, I stayed at the same band for about 3 months. I
Yeah,
haven't improved that.
but two things I would say. First of all, it's very subjective. What I mean by that is it really depends on the tutor. Day to day, they might feel, it's higher, lower, so that's very subjective. It won't be so much in the exam because they go through a system when it's not just the examiner that sees or hears your recording. So it's not so subjective there. So it might just be my opinion,
Yes.
The other thing I would say is, in order to improve one band score, they say you've got to spend around 200 hours of practice. So 200 hours takes a long time because you're learning a language and there's a lot of subtlety to language. So you're doing very, very well. It's just a case of accuracy, and that takes a bit of time. So don't feel disheartened. You are improving. Every single day you're improving. And I hear it.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
your support. I really appreciate that.
And just when you do take your exam, just go all out. Really push for it. Use every single word you think is the right word and just throw it out there. Because it could be one or two high-level sentences that really push you over, a particular band score. So that's what I would say.
I won't risk. I won't risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Don't play it safe. Okay. Well done, and I'll talk to you the next time we go live. Cool.
Bye.
See you later. Bye. Okay. So let's get our next contestant. Hopefully. So we've got one more practice. And guys, if you're watching, if you want to jump on the live call with me, feel free.
Yes.
We've got a few more practices here. Okay, so we've got the second practice ready to go. So how are you today?
Yes, I'm good. How about you, Mr. Phil?
I can't complain. Everything's fine. Right, so we've got, again, we're talking about famous people. But this time, the prompt says, describe a well-known artist from your country.
Oh my God! Actually, I'm not really know anyone of eight artists in my country.
So
So
the thing is, you can interpret this in different ways. So an artist doesn't necessarily mean someone who paints or draws. You could interpret it as a singer, a performing
singer.
artist. Okay, so now
Yes.
what I would say is if you what I would say is if you have an opportunity now to do something you find difficult, which is talking about art, have a go. Because if you
Yes.
remember, I don't know if you were here, but if you remember earlier, it doesn't have to be true. You can make it
Yes.
up.
Yeah.
I know very little about Vietnamese artists, so
Yes.
maybe even less than you. So just give it a go, yeah?
Yes.
So can you see the YouTube screen okay?
Yes, let me see. Yes,
Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll give you 1 minute to think about what you'd like to say, and then
Yes.
we'll go through it. So if you're ready, you'll have 1 minute starting now.
Yes.
Okay, so while he's doing that, if everyone else wants to think about what they would say, is there an artist you know? Now, if there's not an artist from your country that you know, there's nothing stopping you from saying, well, in fact, I'm not very familiar with artists from my country, but I'm going to talk about Pablo Picasso, who's a famous artist from Spain. As long as you tell the examiner that you're communicating the fact, there's nothing wrong with you then talking about Pablo Picasso. Okay, but what you might want to do is put this on your list and do a bit of research about famous people in different kind of professions, so you have that in your back pocket, you have it prepared before you go in an exam, because you never know, this might come up. Okay, so hopefully that wasn't too distracting. So if you're ready, we're going to do this. So
I'm ready.
remember, I would like you to describe a well-known artist from your country, and can you start speaking now, please?
Actually, the singer whom I would like to talk about today is Mun. He is a well-known singer, and he has a lot of good songs. So he usually changes his appearance to appropriate to his characters in his songs, but he normally has long hair with mustache, and I'm impressed on his sad eyes. He is my favorite idol, not only because of his successful career, but also his characteristics. He has a heart of gold and simple and very gentle. To me, he's just like a pear in my country. When we talk about celebrities, many people think of expensive cars or luxurious mansions, but people usually see him on his normal clothes and enjoy the food in vendor streets. He also contributed a lot of money in charities, like helping a lot of poor people. I learned two things from him: his kindness and never surrender miserable past. In my memories, if my memory serves me right, he came from humble beginnings. He had no money when he started his career, but he still becomes a prosperous
Okay, thank you.
person. Yes.
Good. Okay, excellent. Yeah. So I think the content there was really good. Everything flowed quite nicely, and it was logically put together. So I think, yeah, I would say, if I know from experience that you're not confident with talking about art.
Yes.
So although we can interpret this word as artist, as a performing artist, I would just say, make it very clear that you understand that by saying, well, you've asked me to talk about a well-known artist. I don't know anything about art, but I'm going to talk about a performing artist who's a very famous singer in my country. So that way, the examiner knows, okay, the candidate understands the word well, they just don't like art. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you've got to be extremely descriptive when you're in the arts test. Explain every little thing where there might be misunderstanding, because unfortunately the examiner's always going to assume that you're wrong. Even if you use a word perfectly, they're going to think it's wrong, like a high level word. If you use like a band 9 level word, but you're only a band 7, they're going to think you've used it wrong unless you explain it.
Yes.
So that's what I would say. Just make sure you do that if this happens. So you were talking about how this artist changes their appearance. So you might say he adapts his appearance to his songs, the context of his songs.
Yeah.
So got a bit of a dry throat. I've been talking for too long. I need a drink. Lovely green tea. Good stuff. Okay. So yeah, throughout this, I heard you using some great words, but I think just work on the pronunciation of some words to make sure that you really get the points for those words. So just repeat after me. Moustache.
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 Yeah, better. It's got this sh sound on the end. Moustache. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Moustache.
I understood what you were saying because I'm an English teacher, but the examiner will pretend not to be an English teacher, and they may say, "Okay, I didn't understand that," although it was clear what you were saying. Okay, so moustache.
Yes.
Now you spoke about characteristics.
Characteristic.
Yeah,
yes.
it's a character,
what I'm talking
characteristics. Yeah. Now, in the context you were talking about, I would have said his personality, because characteristics are either the way he looks, facial features, the way he dresses. It's not necessarily the way that he acts or behaves.
Oh yes.
So in the context you used it, I would say personality. I heard you use the word luxuries, but you struggled a little bit with that. Luxuries.
Yes, I mean luxurious or something like that.
Oh, luxurious. That's even hard for me to say.
Yes, sorry.
There are certain.
That's very hard for me.
There are certain sounds that don't sound good in the London accent sometimes. Luxurious. Yeah. Even for me, that's a tongue twister. Luxurious. Yeah. So what you can do is you can go on the internet and get these words and you listen to them. If you type in like a dictionary definition, often you have the sound, and you can just listen, record yourself and see how close am I, and the more you practice you'll get at that. So you were talking about he wears his normal clothes, he's not, he doesn't try to be fancy. So expressions you could use here are: he's a man of the people. A man of the people.
Yes, a man of people.
Or he's down to earth. He's very down to earth. Yeah.
Yes.
And I like the way you used the expression, if my memory serves me right. That was good. He came from humble beginnings. Really good expression. And just at the end, you spoke about him not being prosperous. So that was really good. Yeah. So, as I've said before, I think you've got the vocabulary down. Just work on some pronunciation features, because it might actually use the word correctly in the correct way, but if you just miss some of the sounds, you'll not get credit for that, unfortunately. So go back, look at the sounds in English you find difficult, and just work on those until you can get them right. Okay, so really good performance as always, great. And what I'll do is say goodbye to you, and we've got someone else waiting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phil.
You're welcome, anytime, mate. And
Yes.
we'll see you in another live stream very soon.
Yeah, see you.
See you later. Okay. So let's get the next person in. We should have enough time on this call. If for some reason it ends, I'll start up another call and see if anyone else would like to join. So we've got Zell said he'd like to join. So yeah, Zell, you'll be after Pim. So let's move on. We've got practice 3. So this one says, describe a famous TV presenter you know. So we'll do a microphone check with Pim. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Excellent. Okay. Are you able to see the YouTube screen? If not, I can read the information to you.
Okay, I can hear you.
Yep. And do you see the information on YouTube in front of you or not?
Oh, sorry. I am now opening 2 tabs on the
Oh, okay.
computer.
Yeah. If not, I'll read
Yes.
the information to you. It's not a problem.
But I don't know what to close because I am opening both
Okay.
the Zoom application and the YouTube.
Yeah. I tell you what. How about I read the information to you, so you know what you've got to do, and then we'll do it like in the overall exam. So the information you need to know. It says describe a famous TV presenter you know. It actually says describe famous TV presenter. It should have a. That's my mistake. Describe a famous TV presenter. And it says you should say what they are famous for, what they look like, the TV show they present, and why you like them. There's lots of typos in this one. Okay. But if you just talk about a famous TV presenter you know, that will be fine.
Okay, but I can't see your screen. Can you share the screen again?
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can share it to you as well.
Yes, because now I am not open YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Just give me a second. I have to correct my silly typos. Okay. And I will share my screen. I'm sharing it there. So hopefully you can see this in Zoom as well. So yeah, so describe a famous TV presenter you know. You should say what they are famous for, what they look like, the TV shows they present, and why you like them. Okay. So if you're happy with that, I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about what you'd like to say. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so here's 1 minute to think about what you want to say. Let's have a quick drink before we go. Okay, so right, good. So if you're ready,
Can I start immediately?
yeah. So remember, I'd like you to describe a famous TV presenter you know, and you can start speaking now, please.
Okay, so as your question, I want to present one of my favorite persons in the YouTube, or maybe sometimes he presents some performance on the TV, and his name is Khoa Perk. He is originally named in Vietnam, and he is famous for the traveling topic all over the world. Although that he is the Vietnamese person, but he um, he used his money, his income, to traveling around the world and make some videos on YouTube. And he is very famous and become an important person for our Vietnam culture. Um, he is just a short man, and the the appearance is not have anything that we can see the special thing or the special character about his personality, but he is very generous, and he is come from a high living standards family. And the reason why I love him because uh, he donates his money on YouTube, and also he has the famous statement that if you want to start some business or you want to start to become a YouTuber, you need to be rich, you need to be wealthy before you start something. And then this is the statement and the inspiration for most of people in my family, for most of the people in my country, and especially for myself. I am just a graduated student from university, and his statement is the most
Okay, thank
inspiring
you.
for me.
Great. Good. So that's time up. Excellent. Okay. So the one thing I would just say is just with the connection, it's not that great. So sometimes I was struggling to hear what you were saying. Obviously, that wouldn't be the case in the real exam. So I think in terms of your content, it's great. You're speaking for 2 minutes. Absolutely perfect. No problem there. I felt that everything was logical and linked well together. That's good. So just a few expressions perhaps you could use. So you were talking about this YouTuber, and you could perhaps say he does travel documentaries, or he has a travel vlog, vlog. That would be a good phrase there. You can also describe a person like this as a globe trotter. A globe trotter means someone that travels all around the globe, the world. That would be a good one. I liked how you used the expression his income. He uses his income to do something. That's good. Just watch out for the difference between Vietnam as the country, the noun, and Vietnamese, the adjective. So you were saying how he has an impact, a positive impact on our Vietnam culture, our Vietnamese culture. So just watch out for the difference there, adjectives and nouns. I liked how you were talking about him being very generous. That was a good use of the word. Just watch out for putting the verb to be where you don't need it. The example I heard was he is come from a good family. He comes from. So he comes from. We would only use the verb to be with another verb for things like the passive. He is given money, or the continuous. He is going abroad. So just watch out for things like that. And you mentioned he comes from a good standard family. You might say he comes from a wealthy family. He comes from an affluent family. This means rich, or he comes from a comfortable background. Comfortable. They have enough money, yeah. Now, you were talking about at the end there how he shows that you don't need money to start a YouTube channel. I know that from experience. You can do it very cheaply. And some good expressions here is when he shows that something's not true. You could say he has shattered an illusion. To shatter an illusion. Shatter like glass breaking. To shatter an illusion. To show it's not true. Or to be a myth buster. To bust a myth. To show something that people believe is actually not true. Bust a myth. Yeah. So overall, I think you're on the right track. Just perhaps review the basic structure of some of your sentences. You can come back and listen to this. This goes live on YouTube. We upload it after the live stream. Come back and listen to yourself and think, okay, how could I maybe say that in a different way? Could I improve that sentence somewhere? Okay. So overall, good job, Pim. Really good job. Make sure you come back and speak to us again live. Get some practice, and we'll give you some more feedback another time. Okay.
Okay, but I have one last thing to say to
Yeah,
you.
go for it. Yeah.
Because when I finish my speaking test and you give me some advice and also some new vocabs, but sometimes because I am a Vietnamese person, so when I heard your new vocab, sometimes I mispronounce and I don't know how to exactly write down this word.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll tell you what, I'll do it in the chat here. I'll do it in chat in Zoom. So I said, so a globe trotter. So that's, for everyone else, it's a globe, is Globe, globe, trotter, Trotter. It's in the chat for you in Zoom. I use the expression to shatter an illusion. So to shatter, SHATTER, illusion, ILLUSION, and I said to be a myth buster, which I think is 2 words. Yeah, it's 2 words. Yeah, good. So myth, MYTH, and buster, BUSTER. So you can you can jot those down. I'll leave them in the chat for you, and you can check what they mean. Put them into Google. Double check. Okay. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Keep practicing reading in English every day, and you'll just naturally build your vocabulary and your grammar knowledge. Okay, so Pim, I will say goodbye. I'll put you back in the waiting room, and we'll get one of the other people who are waiting to jump on. So see you later.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye. Okay. Right. So we said that Zhao was going to be next. So let's get him set up, and we will move on to the next practice question. Okay. So we'll just do a quick mic check, see if Zhao. How are you today?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
How about you? You're okay?
Yeah, not too bad. I had a very good day. Okay.
Wonderful.
So, right, good. So we've got 10 minutes left on this. So we'll do this, and I can see Rupinder's waiting. If the call drops out before we get to Rupinder, I will start it again. So Rupinder will be next. But for you, Zoel, your part 2 question is, describe a famous politician from your country. Okay.
Okay.
Are you able to see the YouTube screen? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I'll give you 1 minute to think about what you'd like to say, and then we will do this. So you'll have 1 minute to think, starting now.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're ready, I'd like you to describe a famous politician for your country, and you can start speaking now, please.
Okay, thank you very much. To be honest with you, there are so many famous politicians in my country, but if I had to choose one, I think I would like to talk about Sandiaga Uno. He is currently the Ministry of Education in Indonesia, and since he became the Ministry of Education, he becomes really famous and well known among the citizens in Indonesia. And the reason why many people love him also because of his personality and also his passion in education. He finished his master's degree from Harvard University and also continued to the PhD level at Stanford University. So I think people admire him and his leading style because of his background as well. And I can say that since he became the Ministry of Education, there are so many reforms in our education system. He changed the teaching system and also he improved the educational institutions in rural areas and allocate a lot of money and helps the students in rural areas. And it's not only about my opinion. I think many of the citizens also think the same way, that he is really helping the country at the moment. And he always tells us that education is the greatest advancement that we can do right now, because if we have
Okay, thank you.
and well-educated society.
Thank you. Yep, excellent, good. Yeah, very, very nice. Again, lots of good content. Everything was very effortless. It was easy to follow what you're saying. That's really, really good. So, yeah, going through it, I liked the way that at the very beginning, in the introduction, you snuck a conditional in. If I had to choose just one, I would choose this person. That's a really good method of getting high-level vocabulary and grammar straight in at the beginning. So excellent work.
Okay.
Now, you're going to kick yourself, I think, when you hear this. You're going to kick yourself. You're going to think, oh, why did I say that?
Okay.
Who works in a ministry? A minister. So he is the Minister of Education who works at the Ministry of Education. So you said that a few times. So you're just confusing ministry, minister. Okay.
Yeah.
I understood what you meant, but it's just the wrong form of the word. So just be aware of that if this ever happens again. Yeah, like I said, you'll kick yourself because as soon as I said it,
Yeah,
you knew.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I liked how you used the expression that he's well known among the citizens of Indonesia. I like that, among the citizens. Very nice. What else? Yeah, some just really good stuff. You said that he's famous because he finished a master's from Harvard. I would probably say he finished a master's at Harvard, or he graduated he graduated from Harvard. So he finished a degree at an institution. He graduated from an institution. Yeah. So I liked the way you were talking about educational reforms, that was used in the right way. You mentioned rural communities and money, and I think you mentioned he allocated a lot of money, but I didn't quite catch what you said there. So if you were saying to allocate money, that's right. If you weren't, I didn't quite catch what you said. But to allocate money, good expression. And at the end there, you were just talking about your opinion, and the expression I would use is, it's not just my opinion. Others share it too. So it's not just my opinion. So what you said, if you listen back to this later on, it wasn't quite that. It wasn't wrong, but it's not quite what a native would say. Yep. So overall, you're definitely on the right track. And again, it's just watch out for those little slips. But even at band 7, band 8 and band 9, you can still make mistakes. So it's not a big deal. Yeah. It's not going to drastically reduce your band score. But it's nice if you know the right form. It's nice to do that. Yep. So great performance as always. Definitely on the right track.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do you think with these skills I could get at 6.5 or 7? My exam is coming.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's hard to say just from that, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely band 6 to 7, and yeah, I mean 6.5. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd have to do exactly the same thing throughout the parts, but yeah, I'd be fairly confident you'd be somewhere in that level. Yeah, but as I said to Maria earlier on, just throw everything you've got, especially really high level vocabulary and trying to make some complex structures, not necessarily complex grammar tenses, but just fitting lots of different parts of sentences, clauses together. The more you push out there, even if you get high level grammar and vocabulary a little bit wrong, you get credit for that, and it does push your score up. It doesn't push your score down. But if you make basic errors, that's an issue. But you're not making basic errors, so that's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
So keep going through it. I'm sure you'll do well. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much
Cool.
again.
Okay, speak to you later. Bye.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Okay, and let's get Rupinder in, hopefully before things finish on the call. Right, so where is it? Okay, so Rupinder, if you're okay. Oh no. So it looks like my Zoom call finished there, Rupinder. What I'll do is I'm going to start it again, and we're just going to have Rupinder do this. So Rupinder's going to be the last one tonight, and I will start it up again. Just bear with me a second. Okay, so yeah, Rupinder, if you're still there and you're still eager to talk to me, we'll just do this last one, and hopefully Rupinder will be able to join me again. And it's for this particular topic. Describe a popular influencer, so someone on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and it's the same topic of famous people. So if you're trying to join Rupinder, it should be exactly the same information that's in the description of the video or in the live chat. So we're still we're still using the free version of Zoom, which only gives us 40 minutes. I'm sure it will make sense for Michael and I in the future to upgrade, but not quite yet. This channel is by no means profitable at all. It might be in the future, but it's not now. So looks like Rupinder's back. Just check with when the microphone works, hopefully. Probably have to just fiddle around with some wires and it should start working soon. So describe a popular influencer. So, you could talk about someone you watch on YouTube, maybe someone you follow, Instagram, could also be talking about Facebook groups perhaps, could be a celebrity, someone on Twitter or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a lay person necessarily, it could be a celebrity too. Although you could argue, someone like Mr. Beast or PewDiePie, they're celebrities, I suppose. I'm not sure if I would recognise them walking down the street, but I'm sure lots of people would. So, yeah, Rupinder seems to be having a problem with a microphone. So, give you a little bit of time to see if you can figure that out. And if not, then okay, looks like it's gonna work. Excellent. I can see the microphone icon here in the Zoom chat.
Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Hello, I'm very good. How about you, Bill?
Yeah, pretty good, thank you. Okay, so shall we do this? Are you able to see the YouTube screen still?
Yes, I can see YouTube screen.
Great. Okay, so I would like you to describe a popular influencer, and you can interpret that in any way you like, but it's normally referring to social media, someone who's an influencer on social media. And I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about what you'd like to say. Starting now. So 1 minute, off you go. Okay, so if you are ready, I would like you to describe a popular influencer, and you can start speaking now, please.
I think there are many influencers throughout the world, and everyone are very capable in their own way and representing very beautiful and different stuff. But here I would like to talk about the one particular influencer in India who is very popular these days. He is the Sadhguru, and he is in his 50s, and he's very popular in India. The reason why is he's very popular among in India because of a different personality. He provides these spiritual classes about the religion, mindset, peace of mind, and how can anyone gain the personal uh, benefit from their own mindset. How can anyone become clear about their mindset and about their goal. They are famous for their, as I said, their different mindset and the spiritual classes, and I got to know about them through the YouTube. Once I was watching some of the stuff regarding the spirituality, and then the notification about the ad pop up on my screen. Then I checked that the ad was about the Sadhguru, how they provide the classes to the especially youngster to guide them, and they influence the India, not only India. I think throughout the world people are inspired by him. He provide the spiritual classes, and the guidance to the especially youngster, how can they avoid the materialistic world and to follow the right path by the guidance of the religion. And I think the people why follow them because everyone in this materialistic world are stressed, and everyone facing their personal issue, and all want to some guidance in their life, and Sadhguru is one of the them who provides the
Okay,
guidance
thank
in
you.
a very different
Yeah,
way.
great. Yeah, good, excellent. Yeah, so just so everyone watching, the examiner will just cut you off when you either has said enough or when they reach 2 minutes, and it's not a problem at all. That's great. So if you're speaking right to the end, that's okay. Yeah, so I think in terms of the content, it's good. Your ideas are linking well together. Definitely not an issue. The one thing I would say perhaps is with the kind of introduction to these part twos, try to get there quicker. So it's true there are many influences in the world. They're already good, but you're going to talk about this. Just get there quicker. The reason why is it just takes up time, and it's a missed opportunity. It's really after the introduction where you get into the meat of your speech. That's where you're going to show what you're good at. I think what you said was fine, but just bear that in mind. It was okay. You got there soon enough. So I think in terms of things like relative clauses and linking clauses together, you're doing fine, and that is complex grammar, so that's really good. But think about how you plan these speeches. Is there a possibility to talk about past events, impacts on the present, so you can use present perfect and refer to the future? Just try and style your notes so it gives you that opportunity to do that if possible. And like I did in my example earlier on, I tried to do like an overview introduction where I got different grammar tenses at the beginning just to cover my bases. And it's all about giving yourself the opportunity in the way you plan it. What else will I say? Yeah, just a few times I felt like you perhaps repeated the word where you could maybe use a synonym. So things like popular, we heard that. So before, popular, well known for, celebrated for, renowned for, these kind of different words. And if you show that you know synonyms and how to use them, this is a bonus, of course. What else? I just noted down, just for things like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we don't have to say, I saw him on the YouTube. I saw him on YouTube. So these social media platforms, we don't need to use an article for them. Okay, but it's a very small thing, but just so you know. And just, we've spoken about this before, just you really want to try to watch a lot more native English TV and try and copy the intonation. So a few times when you made a statement, you were doing that rising intonation at the end. I think we've mentioned this before. So you're turning a statement into a question when it's not a question. Either you've been watching lots of Australian TV, because that's what they do in their accent. It's like, are you having a good day, mate? That's the question, but you know, they do that quite a lot. You know, I'm feeling quite tired. So you want to avoid that if possible. And the best way to do that, if you can watch native English speakers on YouTube, you know, like me and Michael or whatever, and just copy how we say things, you know, really try and mimic us, and you'll get the intonation a little bit more. Yeah. But this is just something to work on, really. So overall, yeah, good job. Just think about how you structure things to give yourself an opportunity to use different grammar, and where possible, if you hear yourself saying a word again and again, think, can I use a synonym, or can I be more descriptive about it to avoid repetition? Yeah. So good job. Excellent stuff. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much for your advice. Thank you. I will definitely follow.
No problem. So I will speak to you again the next time we go live, hopefully, and just keep doing what you're doing. Excellent stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Great. So good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I hope that you did find this a useful video. And if you did, then give us a little like. But if you didn't, give us a dislike. We need to know. We're here to try and help you. If we can make videos better for you in some way, please let us know. So Michael and I, we are coming up with our schedule for the coming month. And if you want to know about that, come to the website, theartsgrind.com. You've got the live stream schedule here. We've updated it. So we've changed it a little bit. So Phil, will be going live on Tuesday evenings because Michael's picked up a Tuesday class at our school. So I'm going to do that. He'll be here on Saturdays. So we're going to have a 2 live stream schedule for the month of October. And we'll be giving you some regular uploaded videos as well. We've got a filming day planned quite soon. And what we're going to do is kind of vocabulary and speaking practice throughout. And at the end of the month, we're going to be doing mock speaking classes. So rather than every week, we're going to do that once a month. So you guys really have an opportunity to see a big difference, because if you keep taking a mock speaking class, a mock speaking test every single week, you won't see the benefit. But if you take it once a month, you probably will. But you also have an opportunity in the speaking practice to actually get live and talk to us. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you on Saturday. For Michael is going to be doing vocabulary.